All right, we are going to start by dividing this space horizontally because we are going to fit two different things in this one space. So try and find where you think about the middle is and draw a line across. Doesn't have to be perfect. And very small on the top, about as small as your other definitions, we're going to write 1 point perspective. And then down here, you're going to write 2 point perspective. So with 1 point perspective, you always begin with the, I'm going to call it facade. So it's a front flat plane. So we're going to go ahead and draw like a little house two different ways, okay? So the one over here, I'm going to go ahead and use my ruler so it turns out okay. We're just going to do a basic little box, like rectangular front. So when I say facade or front flat plane, we could also call it a face. That means you're standing, you see a whole side. You're standing like right in front of one side of a house, say. Try and find the middle for the roof, for the gable. I think it's called a gable end. So you'll have something that looks like this. All right, so with 1 point and 2 point perspective, basically the point, they're meaning vanishing point. So if you only have 1 point perspective, how many vanishing points do you have? 1. And typically the vanishing point is kind of like your viewpoint. So if it's up really high, they call it a bird's eye view. If it's down really low, I call it like the snail's view. But if you imagine about eye level, okay, if I'm looking at this house and I'm about eye level, I don't know, maybe I would be somewhere in here, but you want to create a little vanishing point. I'm going to do mine in pen and then draw my lines in pencil. Okay? And then basically from all the vertices that you can see, without going through your house, you're going to connect the vertices on that side to your vanishing point. You don't have to draw them all the way back, but you can. This I always do very, very lightly. Okay? So all of them will be drawn very, very lightly. One and 2 point perspective, there's also 3 point perspective and even 4 point perspective. But it gives a way to scale something smaller proportionately as you get farther and farther away. All right, so when you're ready to draw the back, I guess, of your building, one of the things that's very important is these lines on your face, when you go back, you need them to be parallel with this front face line that's kind of in that same plane, okay? So if this is a vertical line, this one needs to be a vertical line. So you're going to go back as far as you kind of think makes sense for your building. I mean, if it's a house, it might be a little bit shorter, or maybe it's like a little shed, or if it's a long shop with bays or something, it might be long, okay? So you decide what works for you, but you need to make sure that this line, wherever it might end in that plane that you created, is parallel with your front face line. All right, so last but not least, we're going to make the line on kind of that roof plane that we see as well. So see how this is a diagonal line, okay? Again, wherever you make this line, which actually, since mine connects to that front vertical line, it goes right there and connects to the diagonal, I need to do the same thing. But you need to try and get it parallel with this line. Okay, so I'm really just trying to keep it as parallel as possible until I get to that little edge. And then I will connect those two lines. So I went ahead and just outlined my building with the fine-tipped black marker, so you can see where my lines connecting those vertices back to my vanishing point are, but where I decided to create those parallel lines to end my building. Okay, last but not least, we need to put a horizon line in here. Now if you think about it, if you're closer to the ground, the horizon line is going to look way lower, like almost at the very bottom of the building. But if you were up in the sky, you would see a lot more ground for a longer distance, and so the horizon line would be up higher. We're only kind of looking like we're maybe standing in front of the house, or I don't know, across the road in an upper story. It could be either. So really, your horizon line's probably going to be a little bit below, but you're not going to see as much ground going back in the distance.